Hi, this is Scott with the Hydroponic Gardener again. Today we're going to talk about how to mix your fertilizer. We had a subscriber ask a really good question from episode 1 asking how we actually mixed it. So ultimately what you need is your measuring cups or measuring devices of some sort. This is what I use to measure all three of the different types of fertilizer I add to it. You have the master blend, the magnesium sulfate, and the calcium nitrate. And the easiest way to do that is you mix your master blend and magnesium sulfate first. You have that 2:1:2 ratio, and you'll put it in the bucket. You'll start out with whichever measuring device you're going to use. For my 5-gallon buckets, I usually use the half teaspoon for what I'm stirring in at this point. So I'm going to scoop in 2 scoops of this, leveled scoops, and it will change the color of the water a little bit when you add it. But it's best to add the master blend and the magnesium sulfate first and mix those. And then after they're fully mixed, add in the calcium nitrate. Now you can see how fine the grains are on the salt. The master blend's the same way. So those dissolve really easily, and that's why they recommend that you mix those first, just so that they're nice and dissolved in the water before you add the calcium nitrate. You can use a attachment on a power drill, like a paint mixer. That's pretty extreme for a barrel. I use that for some of my bigger totes that I'm mixing. Or you can even just use a free paint stick that you can get at Home Depot. So you'll stir the water as good as you can just to get it agitated and get that stuff to mix in. And once that's nice and mixed up, we will add the calcium nitrate. And this stuff here, like I say again, it is very granular. You'll notice I'll pour it in my hand here in a second and show you that it is a lot more clumpy in that regard. So that's why they recommend just mixing that last, so it dissolves easier with the other stuff not in it, apparently. I mean, that's what I'm told anyhow. So once that's in there, you'll go ahead and stir it again, mix it real well. And keep in mind that you're going to also want your pH meter tester and your TDS meter to measure the strength of both the TDS and then the level of the pH in the water. So this is the TDS meter, also known as a ppm meter. Just measure, and a lot of times too, you'll take 2 measurements. I usually measure them up front and then give it a little while to blend into the water, because it does adjust a little bit after a few minutes. Right now it's around 450, 460. And for the bucket I'm putting this in, I'm going to get it around 500. And my pH currently it's around 6.8. So normally tap water, when it comes out of our tap, it's different everywhere, but our tap, it's usually around 7.5. So when you do put your fertilizer in, it does lower it a little bit. So you want to wait to put your pH down in until after you've mixed your fertilizer, and then just add a certain amount. You'll get used to how much you put into the bucket as you make them. I mean, if you always stir your nutrients in a 5-gallon bucket, you're going to get used to knowing, okay, I need this much pH in there after I've put my fertilizer in at this strength to get it where I need it to go. So you'll just, again, stir it real well. And again, like I say, when you do this, you'll normally want to wait 3 or 4 minutes just to let it mix into the water real well before you get an accurate measurement, because it does fluctuate a little bit, and you want it to be as precise as you can before you pour it into your final reservoir. And so I'm pretty close to 500 on this at this point. That's where it needs to be. This is going to go into my NFT system with my plants I've just put into it. And you'll notice there's a little bit of grass gunk in the center there. You can just pick that out with your hand. You obviously don't want to make sure there's not any kind of debris in there when you're putting in your system. It's just one less thing to worry about with it clogging up your lines or getting into your pump. But so my pH needs to go down a little more. I'll be adjusting that a little bit more here. But just to give you a gist of how you mix it, that's ultimately what you do. And there's not much more to it. So once this is all mixed in, I will pour it into my reservoir. And if you're doing a Kratky system, all you'd have to do is ultimately just slap the lid on top of this with the plant in it. Again, making sure that it's flush with the bottom of that water so it's touching, and you're good to go. In the next episode, we will be talking about deep water culture, unless we get any other great questions from subscribers. We'll create a video on that just to explain that as well. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to ask, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for notifications so you are aware of when we post new videos. Thanks, and have a great day.